Hey, welcome back. First, I'd like to say thank you again for constantly, tuning in, for watching. Views are pretty good, so I appreciate that. And I'm going to take the time now, instead of the end of this video, which I will probably take at the end of the video again, to remind you, because some of you are just not doing it. I don't know if you guys are making it to the end of the videos or what. Please, if you're watching this now, you see that little thumbs up underneath my face on the left side? Click it. Click like, because we need likes to keep going. And the same thing with the subscribe. You see that little red subscribe on the right side under my gorgeous face? Click that too. So the views are really good, but the subscriptions, like, there are not enough people subscribing, and I know there are people watching, so it would be really, really helpful to get more subscribers. That's all I'm going to say about that. I have a few topics I want to discuss today, but the truth is I don't think we're going to be able to get to all of them. It really sort of depends, because some of these topics are going to take a little bit of time, and then it also sort of depends on whether or not my recording app freezes, or the fact that I'm sitting in a sunroom that has 8 windows, and I've had to close the blinds because it is sweltering in this room, and I can't put like an air conditioner on or something, or you won't be able to hear me. It'll sound ridiculous. So let's see. I don't tolerate heat very well. I'm, in case you haven't noticed, and we've had this conversation before, I'm really white, and so I have a fair amount of heat intolerance. And go figure, I'm thinking about moving to a warmer tropical climate. Fucking idiot. But yeah, I don't tolerate the heat very well. I turn very red, and I get nauseous, and and then I need to take a nap, and drink a lot of ice water. So of course, so naturally, instead of getting onto topic, I'm talking about how I'm overheated and how I overheat easily, and I'm sitting in a sunroom overheating and not talking about what I wanted to. So I wanted to start off with a little bit more. I mean, the 3 topics that I want to discuss are relatively serious topics, but I don't know, maybe something funny can come out of it. I don't know. But so I'm sure some of you are going to roll your eyes, but let's talk about Israel. I have to talk about Israel. It's really important to me. As you can see, I'm a Jew, in case you didn't know. I'm a pretty hardcore Jew. I'm not Orthodox, but I'm religious, and I'm observant of a lot of things. We light candles on the Sabbath and whatnot. And forgetting the Jewish thing for a moment, because you certainly don't have to be Jewish to be pro-Israel. It's more that you have a group of people who have been oppressed since the beginning of time by every country they've ever lived in at some point in history. And Israel, since the beginning of time, we know that it always belonged to the Jews, because, hello, we have a Bible. And we have historical writings that tell us, Israel has always belonged to the Jewish people. We have things that we can, back that up with. And the Palestinians don't have anything like that. They don't have any kind of historical attachment to the land. They're just doing it because they hate Jews. And it's like, well, the Jews want it, so we want it too. And the land was returned to the Jews, as it should have been, because it wasn't even owned by Arabs at the point that it was returned. It was at that point controlled by Britain, I believe, by England. And then England recognized that the Jews who had been slaughtered in World War II deserved to have a place that's just theirs. And given that the Middle East is, basically 99% Arab and Muslim, the Jews have this one tiny little place in this vast region. It's this teeny little piece of land, and this is causing so much fighting, so much anger. And it has really nothing to do with the land itself. You hear all of this righteousness about, this is occupied land, and the Jews are occupying it, and Israel's occupying, and they just want their land back. The Palestinians just want their land back. Okay, it's not their land, hasn't been, and that's not why they're doing this. The goal of Palestine is to wipe all the Jews off the face of the earth. They hate Jews. It's in their charter, the Hamas charter. And the plan is not for peace. The plan is not to coexist. The plan is to essentially end Israel completely. The only deal I think that they're willing to see to the end is no Israel, no Jews. And they constantly attack Jews. I mean, they're stabbing sprees all the time. Israel should never have conceded Gaza, or was it the West Bank? I think it was Gaza, if I'm not mistaken, in 2005. That was theirs, and they conceded because they wanted to try to make peace, and they thought, every time they try to give up a piece of land to make peace, if anything, that incentivizes the Palestinians to further attack Jews. And because, unfortunately, where Gaza is in relation to both Palestine and Israel, it allows for more attacking. So Israel is basically surrounded by Palestine and then countries that are hostile, and everybody wants to kill them. So there are constantly rocket attacks. I mean, and that's why they have what's called the Iron Dome, which is an Israeli defense program that shoots down, that sort of meets missile for missile to stop rockets from coming in. And so Palestine decided to start to reignite war. And after 4 years of essentially ceasefire and peace, which we had, and Trump, whether you like him or not, nothing bad happened under his administration. Israel and the Middle East were starting to make peace and becoming more recognized amongst Muslim countries. And all of a sudden, he leaves, and you've got the Democrats back in power, and they're okay with this. They're giving more money to Palestine, billions of dollars, and they're planning on reopening the Iran deal. And what does this tell our enemies? Go ahead, go do what you're going to do. Go ahead and kill a bunch of Jews. It's totally fine. So I have friends and family in Israel, and I've been reading their Facebook posts, posting from bunkers. They're in bomb shelters. The husband, I have a husband and wife friend, and they have 4 children. I've known them for years. They used to live in the States. They made Aliyah to Israel. Aliyah is when you move, you make the pilgrimage to Israel. And wonderful people. And I think it was 1 a.m. They had to, you don't get time. Palestine is shooting rockets into civilian areas. This isn't just like going to war with military to military. They're going after civilians. And so I think you get 30 to 90 seconds maximum. The sirens start to go off, and you've got to run. You got to grab everyone in your house and your pets. I assume you can bring your pets. I don't know. And you have to run. And there's no time to think. There's no time to grab it. You just have to go. So this is what's going on. And I've been reading what they're saying about, the terror and the fear. And this is not how people are supposed to live. And then you've got the people on the left who are, you've got the squad. You've got AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Ayanna Pressley. I think that's her name. The forgotten one. She's bald now. And they are venomously anti-Israel. Hate Israel. And they think that Palestine is the victim. So hundreds and hundreds of rockets are raining down on Israeli cities, like beautiful, nice Israeli cities. It's like, imagine if you're just sitting in Miami, or you're sitting in New York City, or you're sitting in Los Angeles or San Francisco. Well, San Francisco's not a nice city. It's covered in garbage and shit. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be such a sad thing if that happened, but I'm just kidding. Imagine if you're just going about your day and rockets just start raining on these major cities, and that's what's going on. And it's hard for us to know because we're sitting here and we're in the comfort of our country and our home, and we don't know any better. But the people that are defending these attacks, they're saying that the Jews started it, and Israelis didn't start this. And I believe there were some reports going about that the IDF went and they attacked these people in mosques, and that was a lie. That was not true. A lot of what is being said is not true. It is, it's up, it's not debatable to me, but people often debate that you can be critical. This is the biggest argument I hear. You can be critical of the Israeli government and not be anti-Semitic. You can be critical of Israel and that doesn't make you anti-Semitic. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It 100% makes you an anti-Semite, because there are countries in this world, in the world, around the world, that are committing inhumane, savage, cruel acts that violate all decency, all morals. You're talking about, female genital mutilation. You're talking about actual slavery that still goes on to this day. The slaughter and expulsion of Christians and Jews from different countries. The extermination of the Uyghur Muslims in China. You're talking about all kinds of inhumane, vile treatment. And the left never seems to create hashtags to stop them. When was the last time you saw a news story on the mistreatment of the Uyghur Muslims in China? When was the last time you saw a news story on the evils of communism in China? And how you don't even have to be a Muslim. If you are a dissident of the Chinese government in China, they disappear you. Same thing with Russia. There are countries that are committing heinous acts. There's genocide going on in other countries. South Africa was starting to see, I haven't heard much about it lately, but in South Africa, there was a genocide going on. I bet you didn't know that. No one's talking about it. So if you're not criticizing actual genocide, and you're not criticizing evil, immoral acts of slavery, cruelty, abuse against women, serious women's rights abuses and human rights abuses, and you don't ever speak up, but the only time you speak up is when the Jewish country, the one Jewish country in the whole world, this tiny piece of land that's it's like the size of New York, maybe. I don't even think it's that big. No, it can't be. I think it's something like four hours from end to end to drive. Something like that. 4 to 6 hours. It's not a big country. If you're only outraged when Israel fights back, then you are an anti-Semite. Okay? Because what you may or may not know is that Hamas, which is the terror organization that operates out of Gaza and hopes to overtake Palestine as the main source of government, they keep people there. They fire rockets from civilian apartment buildings, schools, hospitals. They set up their camps, their terror base in these public areas, and there's a reason for that. It's very strategic. It's because they know that if Israel retaliates, Israel will then kill civilians, and then they get the optics, and then they get the sympathy from the schmucks out there. People that I know. I have people that I've called friends that are actually defending Palestine. They're actually anti-Israel and defending Palestine. I know Christian Palestinians, actual people from Palestine who are Christian, where being Christian is a persecuted offense. In countries like Palestine, you're not really welcome there. They're slaughtering Christians in Arab countries, but they're defending Palestine, where the Jews and the Christians have a lot more in common. I mean, it's just absolutely shocking to me. So Israel can't retaliate, and so what does Israel do? Israel has these knock bombs. So Israel, to prevent killing innocent civilians, actually calls them up and says, we're going to bomb this building at this time. Make sure you evacuate your civilians. They give them a warning, just so they know. And what Hamas often does is they don't tell these people. Sometimes they evacuate people and sometimes they don't. And, the goal is to not evacuate people, and then you kill innocent civilians, and you can say Israel did it. Sometimes they fake pictures. They often fake pictures. They fake deaths. I mean, it's abhorrent. I needed to talk about it because somebody needs to talk about it. And I'm happy to answer questions. Tell me what you think. I don't want to talk about this for too long because, quite frankly, it's really upsetting to me. Really genuinely upsetting to me. And anybody that I know that could possibly agree with murdering Israeli civilians and thinking that Palestine is the good guy here, honestly, I mean, you can go F off. You can go straight to hell. And then what was the other thing that I wanted to talk about here? I guess I can quickly touch upon, you know what? I think I'm going to save it. No, let's talk about it really quick. Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy Teigen is the chipmunk-faced douchebag wife of John Legend, who he's a singer, he's a musician, he's kind of a douchebag too. He looks like an infant. He looks like a giant infant. Chrissy Teigen is a nasty piece of work. She's supposedly a model. Okay. And she's basically made her fame off of being John Legend's wife, and she's tried to be this influencer, and she's tried to brand herself as a cook, as a chef, and she puts out cookbooks, and she puts out kitchen supplies and sells it at Target. But mostly what she's known for is her really, really aggressive, caustic attitude towards people on Twitter. Most notably the president, President Trump, or former President Trump, but kids too. So people she doesn't like. She's pretty vicious. Now I've been saying for years, like, this woman is a loathsome, angry, drunken, miserable bitch. She never has a nice word to say. She blocks people when she gets caught up in these Twitter wars with people who are calling her out. I mean, she's just a miserable human being. She just doesn't say nice things. And so finally, Courtney Stodden, who, if you don't remember, was the child bride of, God, what was his name? I can't remember this guy's name. He was an actor from, I think, Shawshank Redemption. The guy was 51 years old when he married a 16-year-old girl, which is pedophilia, child abuse, evil. And I got to admit, like, even I was a little bit kind of like weirded out by Courtney Stodden. I thought she was irritating, but she was a child. She was a child who was being publicly sold off by her parents. Any parent that would agree to let their 16-year-old get breast implants, have work done, look like a 90s stripper, and then marry off a grown man. Evil, horrible people. And, I think we were all a little bit guilty of kind of eye rolling and, going, all right, come on, you have fake boobs. Like, what are you doing? What's with the dresses? What's with the heels? But teenagers do stupid things and they act like idiots. And when they have an audience, they tend to do even stupider things. And we were fortunate in our generation to not have a camera in our face 24 hours a day and to not be famous. Whereas this kid was thrown into the limelight because of what she was doing, because of who she was marrying. And Chrissy Teigen was, shitposting on Twitter essentially and was calling on this girl to kill herself, telling her to commit suicide. She did it with Sarah Palin as well. She did it with, who was it? It was someone else that she did it with. I mean, this is something that she does regularly, where she tries to tell people to shoot themselves in the face, just kill yourself. I can't wait till you die. Really vicious stuff. I mean, there are people that I'll make fun of. They look stupid, they're idiots, they're jerks. You say some things. To tell someone to kill themselves is just the most vile, reprehensible thing you can do. And I mean it. I really do mean that. And this grown ass woman married with children is forget the fact that she was a child and telling her to kill herself. I mean, that she was a child when, what a reprehensible person. But, telling anyone to kill themselves, how do you know that the people that you called out, Chrissy, didn't have suicidal ideations at some point in their life? And this is not a social justice warrior rant where, where I think that we're going to have, that I'm trying to victimize people who have had this. But the truth of the matter is that until you've experienced the despair, the crushing despair of feeling suicidal, to tell someone, I mean, you could never wish that on someone if you knew what it felt like. And I'm not for cancel culture personally, but I will say in this case, this isn't someone who was, having a dark period. This isn't someone who was going through something. This is a grown woman who told children to kill themselves, who told people to kill themselves. And I think with the nastiness and the just the evil that is this woman, I think it's okay to say at this point now, like, go away now. Let's just get rid of her. She is not someone that we want to see in the public fora any longer. And just we can exile her out of the public eye. We can cancel Chrissy Teigen. I think that's perfectly fine. I think just, maybe she'll cancel her Twitter account for the 50th time. She always tends to come back. She puts out this long thing about, I'm going to cancel my Twitter. This is such a toxic place. And then she comes back and we're like, really? We thought we were rid of you. Anyway, I just thought I would say that. Let me see. Is there anything interesting to add to my life? Because I know this has been kind of like a down and depressing video, right? And it's gone on way longer than I wanted. Tell me what you think. Oh, and by the way, no more masks. No more masks. If you're vaccinated, the government gave you permission to no longer wear a mask. So that's something if you've been vaccinated. I haven't been wearing a mask except to go indoors when required. So these idiots that I see walking outside in the fresh air wearing a mask, you can now stop. And apparently indoors. So I guess Biden, in that he has bankrupted the country, caused war in the Middle East to break out, and what else? I know there's more. Inflation is now now the thing again. So I guess in order to take away, and the fact that he's senile and has dementia and can't keep his teleprompter straight, he has now given us permission to take off the masks. And it's not a coincidence that the worst news cycle he has had so far in his last few months of presidency, coincide with telling us to take off our masks because he needed to distract from what a garbage job he's doing. So well done, everybody. CDC, you can go to hell. I don't trust you any longer. And Biden, well, I never trusted you. And I guess that's all for today. Sorry it wasn't more funny. Tell me what you think about masks, about suicide, about Chrissy Teigen, about Israel and Palestine. I'll be back next week. Thanks again for watching. Like I said before, like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want. Just at this point, I'll just take a like and a subscribe. I'm like a desperate, girl with daddy issues that just wants you to like her. So thanks again for watching. Be well. Happy Friday. See you next week. Bye.